It's kind of a weird Sunday, isn't it? Because Christmas is over, but the New Year hasn't begun. So this is one of those in-between Sundays, we call them as a pastor. It's not necessarily low Sunday. Did you know that there's a low Sunday? Yeah. Low Sunday is the Sunday after Easter, where your attendance goes, because everybody comes for Easter, right? And then the Sunday after Easter isn't that important anymore, and so that's called Low Sunday. This is kind of a weird Sunday. It doesn't happen once in a while, where we have Christmas and then New Year's happens, and so we got this. It's not Advent, but it's not the New Year yet. So we're going to, instead of talking about New Year's resolutions, we will do that a little bit. We're going to kind of launch ourselves into the new year. We'll have our New Year sermon series in January, starting next Sunday. So we've got a one-part sermon, okay? And it's called this, Time to Get Started. I've used for years Moses as an illustration when we come to the transition into a new year. And I just want to share this with you again. Some of you may remember this from 3 years ago, my first New Year's sermon. Some of you weren't here. So it'll be brand new for you. There'll be lots of new stuff in here. But hey, it's time to get started. Thoughts on New Year's resolutions? Who does New Year's resolutions? Wow. It's good to know that you all have come back down to reality and you understand that I'm speaking New Year's resolutions. Okay. If you were, since there's only like 3 people who raise their hands, if you were to do a New Year's resolution, what would be one of your favorites New Year's resolutions? Lose weight. Yeah. That's a good one. I'm sorry? Pray more. That's a good one. Yeah, have a better prayer life. Somebody else.
Try a new restaurant once a month. Oh, I can do that.
Become adventurous and try a new restaurant once a month. Never eat someplace you've already eaten. I think most of us, at one point in our life or another, we've talked about resolutions. We've even had some resolutions. We didn't call them New Year's resolutions because everybody fails at that. But we try to make a commitment to do something with our life. And by golly, January 1st is going to be a great time to do that. So after the holidays, most of us would say, we'll get back to the gym. We'll work off all that holiday weight we gained because we had all the good food and goodies. But most of us, when we come to this time, this week between Christmas and New Year's, we come to this revelation that it wasn't that long ago that we were telling ourselves that we were promising to ourselves, I'm going to do something about having a better relationship with God, I'm going to get healthier, I'm going to get to the gym, I'm going to do all those things. And we realize, I paid for a gym membership for a year, and I've never been. Anybody willing to say, yeah, okay. I paid for LifeQuest for a year. No, I haven't done that, by the way. I'm just maybe putting my voice into your heads. I paid for Planet Fitness for a year, and I've never been. Good thing it's only $10 a month if I got in on the good deal. My resolution is maybe to stop lying to myself about making resolutions, because I never get to keep them. Okay, maybe that's my resolution. My New Year's resolution is a to-do list for the first week of January, and then after that, the list goes in the garbage, right? That's our resolutions. We're going to start January 1st, and by the time the week is over, what resolutions? We haven't done anything, okay? Maybe my resolution is to accomplish the goals this year that I set up for myself 3 years ago, that I've never gotten to, and it always seems to just fly by, okay? Maybe because I promised to actually do them not 3 years ago, but really 6 years ago. And I'm just being honest with myself. I really need to buckle down and get started on those things and not let the year fly by. I got to tell you, it's right on your notes. The very first statement is this. You will never finish something that you don't start. It seems like kind of common sense, but you will never finish something that you don't start. Okay? In order to finish something, you actually have to do something. In order to finish something, we've got to start something. What do you need to start? What have you been putting off? What have you left undone? And this is not a time for all of you ladies out there to say, I've had my list all year and he just hasn't done it. It's not about that. This is all personal stuff. Okay? So ladies, what have you put on your list for you that you haven't accomplished this year? Guys, there's a little something about that to-do list that we need to get back. You might. Okay, you got the honey-do list. Maybe your resolution would be, I'm going to actually get this stuff done on the honey-do list. Maybe you're going to be fit and healthy, and you're going to maintain that gym membership you've been paying for a year at least, or maybe more. Some of you, I don't want to embarrass you, but maybe this time you'll say, I'm actually going to go. I am going to go to the gym that I've been paying for so very long. Maybe you say to yourself, I need a relationship. I got to have a guy, I got to have a man, I got to have a woman. You know, you're single, you've been looking for a long time, so you're actually going to fill out that eHarmony account, and you will actually activate it. Maybe you filled it out before, but now you're going to activate it and let other people see it. Okay, you got to go. You're going to have some strong friendships and accountability relationships. Pastor's been asking for this for like 2 years for us to get an accountability partner and discipleship partner and to go through life with some people, and we're going to get in that relationship. So the key to that is find a person and go. Get into the relationship with them. Get it started. It's time to get it started. You say to yourself, I'm going to be more generous. Pastor, like almost 2 years ago, he did this whole generosity kick, and we talked about it forever. From May through September, we talked about generosity and tithing and giving and living a generous life. And maybe you just haven't taken the step to commit yourself to tithe 10%. But you could do it. Just do it now. Say, I'm not going to wait until January 1st. I'm doing it now. Okay? Maybe your resolutions make a difference in people's lives, and so you're going to call up the mission, and you're going to say, how can I help serve? You're going to call up the food bank and go volunteer next to Glenn. You're going to say, I'll be a mentor to some young dads or some young moms. Whatever it is for you, I want you to take a moment to think about what is one thing that you just need to get started. Okay? Think about it for a moment. Nobody's got to say anything out loud. I just want you to get that thing in your head. Okay? Everybody got the one thing? Now, your lesson for today. Do it. It's simple. Just do it. You'll never finish something that you don't start. So you get that one thing in your head. I want a better relationship with God. Well, stop trying to figure out what it is that you need to do to have a better relationship with God, and just have a better relationship with God. Talk to Him more often. Spend more time with Him. There's no magic theory or there's no magic formula about doing it. You just got to start doing it. You've got to get started. Maybe you feel like, hey, we're starting a new decade. Did you think about that for a second? We're starting a new decade. Maybe some of you have had resolutions on your list for a decade that you've never gotten to. I hope you haven't been paying for a gym membership for a decade that you've never used, because that's a lot of money. But maybe some of you are saying, it's a new decade, it's a new shot, okay? A new focus. It's time to get started. Sometimes it's best for us when we want to get somewhere, when we want to get started with something, to fast forward all the way to the end. I am not a proponent of reading the end of the book before you read the beginning of the book, but sometimes, in order to have some goals and know how to develop those goals, we have to look at the end result. Where do we want to be? What do we want to be known for? What is the legacy we want? Where do I have to start in order to get to that? Okay? My goal is to be known as a follower of Jesus Christ. What will it take? Well, how about to follow Jesus Christ? If my goal is to be known as one who lived their life devoted to God, committed to the teachings of Jesus, what do I got to do to get there? I got to do what Jesus says. One of my favorite pastors of all time, the guy who really wanted me, or made me want to be a preacher, his name was Stephen Fletcher. He was my pastor when I was a teenager. He is passionate about the Word, about sharing the Word. He pastored the West Valley Nazarene Church of Yakima for a very short time in my consideration because he became the district superintendent for our district long before I really wanted him to. I'd love to just sit underneath his teaching. I loved listening to him preach because he wanted it to be known. These are his words. He wanted to be known as a person who just oozed Jesus. He wanted to be a person who was so overfull of the Holy Spirit of God that his body could not contain what God was pouring into him, and he just oozed Jesus. Now, as a teenager, so many of us in our youth group, we said, "You, I don't want to ooze anything." But as I've gotten older, I think that's right where I want to be. And if I want to be a person who is known to ooze Jesus, okay, to just have God just come out because there's no room to contain it, what do I need to do? So I look at Moses. I think Moses is a great leader. I think he's an iconic person in the Bible. I think Moses is you and me when it comes to New Year's resolutions. And here's what I mean by this. If you just open up your Bibles to Hebrews chapter 11 or your devices, Hebrews chapter 11, we're going to look at the end. Now, Moses did not survive to the writing of Hebrews, but we're looking at the end results first, and then we're going to go backwards and look at what he had to do in order to get to that end result. Hebrews chapter 11, starting at verse 24, it says this, and I'm reading from the NIV. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 24 through 26. By faith, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. I'm going to read that again. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. Power, wealth, all of the things that come with that. He regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as a greater value than the treasures of Egypt because he was looking ahead to his reward. What a statement for us to shape our new year and our new focus and our new path on. That last verse. He regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as of greater value than the treasures of Egypt because he was looking ahead to his reward. Father God, we thank you for your word. We thank you for the conclusion of this year. For everything that has brought us, God, both good and bad. We thank you for right where we're at. And we pray, God, that you would help us to launch into a new year more committed, more focused, with all those things that we want to do to better ourselves. Father, we know that we can't accomplish any of them without you. So we pray first and foremost for that, a better relationship with you. And we're going to do it by reading your word together, by learning from you, by listening to your Holy Spirit. And so we thank you that your Holy Spirit is here today, discerning truth to us, all of us. And we pray, God, that your will be done through us as we sit under your teaching. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. So this is where Moses ended. We all say Moses was an amazing leader. Okay? Because we know the end of the story. Right? We know the end of the story of the kids getting out of Egypt. Many of us, if we've grown up in the church, or we went through the story a couple of years ago here at Pasco Naz, and we saw the whole story of God's Word. Many of us, we know the end of Moses' story, so we say he's one of the best leaders there ever was in the Old Testament, and maybe forever. Okay? But this is where Moses ended, a pillar of faith and obedience, but it's not where Moses began. The story of Moses, born in captivity. He is an Israelite, born in captivity, a slave to the Egyptians, his whole family, his whole people. Born at a time when Pharaoh decided a little population control was needed, so all of the boys should probably just die off. And so Moses' parents save him. They hide him. He's later found by Pharaoh's daughter, adopted by her, raised in that Egyptian house for 40 years. He was an overseer. He came to a place of power, and position within that house, he oversaw his own people as slaves. He was an amazing leader. He finds himself in a quandary, though, in his adult life. He is the son of Pharaoh, adopted, and yet he is also a son of God and an Israelite by birth. And he sees the mistreatment of his people, and one day he chooses to protect one of those people, and he kills an Egyptian, punishable by death. He flees rather than face that punishment. He flees Egypt by himself. He goes into the wilderness. He becomes a shepherd, one of the lowliest forms of work there is, hanging out with stinky, stubborn sheep and goats and other livestock. But then he meets God in the wilderness. And God calls him. And he comes back to Egypt, and he leads God's people out of Egypt to the promised land. That's the end of that story. It's the end of Moses' story. So how can Moses help us with our upcoming new year? And we can learn a lot from this guy like Moses about having a faith-filled, successful life full of relationship with God. I want you to take your devices, your Bibles, and we're going to turn all the way back to the Old Testament, Exodus chapter 3. Back towards the very beginning of the Bible, Exodus chapter 3. And I just want to go over a few statements from Exodus chapter 3 and chapter 4. And we're going to look at what Moses was in the beginning and in the middle part to help get him to where he ended. And we're going to model our life after him. So the first thing that we do is this. We start where we're at. If we're going to look into this new year and say, keep any commitment we make to ourselves or to God, we have to accept where we're at and start right where we are at. Start where you are. And so I'm reading from Exodus chapter 3, verse 11 and 12, very beginning of 12. Moses comes to a point where he is talking with God. God tells him he needs to go back to Egypt to rescue his people, to lead them out of slavery. And Moses says this, but Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" Seems like a normal question, right? God's reply, "I will be with you." He doesn't answer Moses in who he is. He just says, "I'll be with you." That's my response. So, a question for you today. Where are you today? Both literally and figuratively. Take a look at where you are. Look around you and see the people around you. Literally, you are in the house of God, surrounded by brothers and sisters, family members, some closer than your actual blood family. People in this room who would do anything for each other because of that common thread of Christ in our lives. God told Moses he would be with him. Moses' first excuse of not stepping up to this commitment is, "Who am I? I am a nobody." Many of you, maybe God's been calling you to something for a while. And your response to him for so long has been, "Who am I? Who am I that you would call me to do that? Who am I that you would call me to be on the board? Who am I that you would call me to go serve people in a park on a Saturday morning? Who am I that you would call me to teach a Sunday school class? I don't have the knowledge. Who am I that you would ask me to lead a small group Bible study? Who am I that you would call me to be a preacher? Who am I?" God told Moses, I'm fairly certain God has been telling you, any of you who've been answering that he would be with you. He'll be with you. God was with Moses every step of his journey to Egypt and then out of Egypt. And God was with Moses as he led his people through the desert. And then almost 1,500 years later, God gave you and I the same statement, "I'll be with you, Emmanuel, God with us." And right here, right now, God is still with us in the presence of His Holy Spirit. Jesus said, it was the last sermon last Sunday, talking about peace. My peace I give to you, shalom. My completeness, my fulfillment I give to you. Not as this world, it's not peace like that, absence of conflict. It's not that. My wholeness as a son of God, I give to you by the power of the Holy Spirit. I would say maybe this. It doesn't matter where you are, where you find yourself in this journey of life. Maybe you've had a great year, maybe you've had a bad year, a great holidays or a poor holidays. Maybe you have a job that you feel like, I'm just going nowhere, and I don't feel like I'm successful, or that I have purpose. It doesn't matter where you are when you know who you're with, and God is with you. It's not irony that we sang that song today. There's a place and time where all those questions in your head, all those fears and anxieties have to stand up against a God that is far greater than anything. Maybe you feel unworthy. I, as a pastor, get the privilege of listening to a lot of people's stories, a lot of people's testimonies. And so many of them are caught up in the story of who we once were. And that's an amazing thing to remember who we were before God got a hold of us, before God opened our eyes and our hearts. It's good to know where we came from. But I got to tell you, folks, once you've asked Jesus and He has given you the gift of salvation, who you were no longer matters. Because now God is with you. You don't have to be labeled by those past transgressions anymore. You don't have to say, God, I could never be a preacher because of this past sin in my life. No, God's calling. And it's not for you to say, who am I? It's for you to say, God, thank you for being with me. Continuing on being with me. It doesn't matter where you are if you know who you're with. God is with you. God can forgive you. God is with you. God can heal you. God can put you in the place where He needs you that you never fathomed He would put you. So far behind financially, maybe you don't see a way out. You've said, this year has gotten me sunk lower and lower, and I just don't see a way out of my financial situation. I don't see a way out of my job situation. But I got to tell you, God is with you, and God has got a plan for you. And wherever you are, it doesn't really matter if you know who you're with, because God is far greater than many of those things. Maybe you're facing some big decisions and you're confused as to which way to go. God is with you, and God will lead the way if you listen. If you'll just listen and follow. Maybe this year you experienced loss of a loved one, divorce, a relationship, maybe a spouse, maybe it was a longtime friend, maybe a job change or dissatisfaction in the past year. You're not sure how you're going to make it through this next year or what your next steps are. And I got to remind you, God is with you, Emmanuel. The creator of the whole universe. He's got all of this figured out already. He knows from beginning to end. He knows what's in store for you, and He is with you. He's chosen still to be with you. He knows what you've done. He knows what you're going to do, and He still chooses to remain with you. God is all that, folks. So you start right where you're at, and you start by talking to God. You pour it all out, everything. You say, God, I just need to recognize right where I'm at right now. This season of my life, I'm just going to list it all out. This is where I'm at. The good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. Nothing is going to work unless it starts with God anyway, right? So we talk to God. And we say, God, this is where I'm at. Thank you for meeting me here. Thank you for opening my eyes so I can see that you're already there. I'm starting right here. I'm going to start right where I'm at. I'm not going to stay. You start where you are. You recognize where you're at. You accept it. And then you go to God and you ask God where He is at. Now, the good news about that is you already know the answer because I've told you over and over again. God's right there with you. Okay? But God isn't just right there with you. God's out there ahead of you. He's in the places that you don't want to go. He is everywhere, right? And you ask God, God, where are you at? Once I start and figure out where I'm at, and I know I want to be with you, tell me, God, where you're at so that I can join you where you're at. So that's our first step. Some of you say, maybe I can't do that. I've heard so many excuses, folks, about why we can't do what God is asking us to do. I could probably write a book. Most pastors could. It's time to just wipe all those out of the way. Recognize right where we're at. That God has got a call in all of our lives, every single one of us. He's got a point and purpose for us. He's got a plan figured out for us. And that walking with Him is far better than anything that we could ever come up with. I got to tell you this. If you're not dead, you're not done. Some of you are laughing, but I'm serious. If you're not dead, you're not done yet. I've had a couple people tell me, Pastor, I'm a member of the church. I've been a member of the church for a long time. I've been on the board. I've been part of the Sunday school. I've taught Sunday school before, but I'm too old for any of this anymore. No. If you're not dead, you're not done. God still has you. And just to that end, I would tell any of our senior adults, we need you. We need the wisdom, right? We need all of the knowledge. We need all the experience. If you're not dead, you're not done yet. God still has purpose in you. And for all of us who are not seniors yet, can we just recognize that? If we're not dead and they're not dead, they're not done. There's still value. There's value in every person that God has created. So we accept how great our God really is. And we're going to realize that it doesn't matter where we are. What matters most is who we're with. God is with us, and we are with God. So we just decide to get started. Okay? We move forward towards God for His glory. The second thing is this. If we're going to start right where we're at, because that's where we're at, we are also going to do this. We're going to use what we have. You use what you have. You start where you're at, and you use what God gave you, right? Even though Moses knew who was with him, only God could talk to you from a burning bush, okay? And have the bush never be consumed, even though it's on fire. Okay? There's no doubt as to who's with Moses. Moses gets it, okay? Even though Moses knew who was with him, he's hemming and hawing and making excuses, all sorts of excuses. You know what I'm talking about. Because most of you and we've made those excuses ourselves. So going over to Exodus chapter 4, verse 1 and 2, it says this. Moses comes up with another excuse. The word says Moses answered, but I'm just going to paraphrase, say, this is Ryan's paraphrase. Moses comes up with another excuse. He says, what if they do not believe me or listen to me and say the Lord did not appear to you? What if they don't listen to me? Then the Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? A staff. What's the common name for a staff? A stick. Okay? So, if you can just picture Moses, now he's a full-grown adult. He's a big boy. He's in his mid-40s. But God, what if they don't listen to me? What if they don't believe me? And God, like He does through His Son Jesus so many times, He doesn't answer the question, but He kind of does. What do you got in there? A stick. Moses had the staff because he was doing his daily work of shepherding, and he needed a stick to fight off animals with. He needed a stick to beat the livestock into submission to get them to go the way that he wanted them to go. Okay? What does God do with sticks? Not much. Unless you consider that miracles could be performed with it before Moses and Pharaoh and Aaron and all those wise guys that Pharaoh had. You know, a stick isn't worth much, but with God, it could take a seed and split it in half and let people walk right across dry land? A stick. Okay? That same stick, when all those kids are complaining about not having anything to drink, can hit a rock and have water come out of the rock. Just a little of this, a little of that with a stick. Maybe you feel the way Moses was feeling. You're raising kids, maybe you're a teacher, you change oil for a living, or you work construction, or you're a bank teller, or you're in sales, or maybe you're a retail person working in the mall, or you're a student. Whatever it is, you feel like you don't have anything that God could ever use to do anything great. You feel like you've done nothing worthy. You have nothing worthy. And can I just point out, Moses had a stick. Just a stick, a piece of wood. And God used that stick for his glory. God used that stick to show one of the most powerful people in the entire world who he was. And that powerful person really had no authority whatsoever. But the God, Creator God, could take that stick and perform miracles with it. Have you ever stopped to consider that what you have is exactly what God uses? Have you ever stopped to think about that what you already have is exactly what God needs for you to fulfill the purpose that he's given you? That you don't have to be some great biblical scholar or theologian to be a pastor. That you don't have to know the word memorized backwards, forwards, inside every verse to be a disciple or a disciple maker. Maybe you are gifted with the ability to fix things. I am not. I am gifted with the ability to destroy things. Maybe you are gifted with the ability to fix things. And you're one of those people that I end up calling when my furnace dies on Christmas Eve. Or when my dishwasher dies and I have to have it replaced, but I don't know how to do it. Maybe you're one of those people that when the brakes go out of my van, you've got every tool and all the knowledge in the world to be a servant and be a helper, and you teach me how to do it. And you show me. Maybe you like kids. You're good with kids. You don't have any kids of your own, but you're good with kids. Maybe you know how to cook better than most. Maybe you've been through some tough things and you could be a mentor to somebody who is going through some tough things. Maybe you're just a friendly person. You can stand at the front door of our building and greet people when they come. Have you ever stopped to consider that what you have, God has blessed you with? Everything inside of you, everything that you possess, all your material possessions, God's given you every single one of them. And he's given them to you with purpose. That everything you have is exactly what God can use to bring about his glory. I want to share with you my life verse. When I asked God that question, when I finally sat down after 10 years of telling God no, that I wasn't going to be a preacher, when I finally sat down and I said to God the very same thing Moses said, who am I that you would ever use me? I can't do this. God said, can I just point out something in that book you're holding in your hand? It's from 2 Peter chapter 1, just verse 3 and 4. And it says this, by his divine power, the Lord has given us everything we need for a life and godliness. By his divine power, the Lord has given us everything we need for life and godliness. Holiness, some translations say. through the knowledge of the one who called us by his own honor and glory. Our knowledge of God and our acceptance of who he is, our knowledge and acceptance as Jesus, as his Son and our Savior. Through that, God has already given us everything we need to live life and to be godly, holy people. We don't need to attain anything else. Through his honor and glory, he has given us his precious and wonderful promises, that you may share the divine nature. Can you just underline that, highlight it on your device, put it in bold, write it in the column next to the word? Can you just grab on what Peter's saying? That you may share the divine nature. You have a brother, his name is Jesus. You are his adopted brother or sister, and by that act, his salvation to us, by that act, you have gained a family. You have access to every resource of heaven. That you get to share the divine nature and escape from the world's immorality that sinful craving produces. The rest of that chapter is great stuff. You should go read it. But this, the Lord has given us everything we need for life and godliness through the knowledge of the one who called us by his own honor and glory. And through his honor and glory, he has given us this precious and wonderful promises that he has never broken. He has brought to fulfillment. That we get to share the divine nature of God. We're not God. Don't get me wrong. We get to share in the presence of God. We can be holy people. The deal is you need to start where you are and use what you have. Don't just leave it lying around. Start where you are. Use what you have. And whatever you have, it's God's. Wherever you are at, God is with you. And whatever you have, material, spiritual, your very nature, God has given it to you, and he can use it for his glory. And the last thing is this. If we're going to start where we are, we're going to use what we have, we're going to do what we can. You know, this brings whole new meaning to that saying that we often use, I'm just doing what I can with what I've been blessed with, what I got to work with. You have been given everything you need to be holy. God, every tool, every gift, it's already been given to you. So our response should be to do what we can. So Moses again, he's still making excuses about getting up off the couch and doing what God has called him to. First it was, what if they don't believe me? And then it's what if they don't listen to me? And now he's saying this. Continuing on in Exodus chapter 4 and verse 10 now. It says this, Moses said to the Lord, pardon your servant. Excuse me, God. I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue. Okay, so Moses, the dude has had a burning bush. God talking to him through a burning bush, and he's coming up with excuse after excuse after excuse not to do what God is asking him to do. He says, I'm slow, God. Can you imagine God just sitting there in the burning bush going, yeah, I know. I can tell. You're slow on the take. The Lord says to him, who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go. I put that with brackets around it because I made it all caps, bold, underlined, italicized. That's me making that. That's not scripture doing that. Okay? Go. Now, go. I will help you speak and will teach you what to say. Moses is just like us, folks. Really, down deep, we're just little kids. All of us, every single one of us. We've got an excuse for everything. We can find an excuse, any excuse, to not do what we're told. Any of you got teenagers? Or have you had teenagers? They can find an excuse not to do anything that they're told. Okay? They learn it when they're little. Have you ever told a kid to go to bed and noticed how much they have to say immediately following you telling them to go to bed? They haven't talked to you all day. It's Christmas break. They're there the whole day. They haven't talked to you all day. They've been staring at their device. You tell them it's time to go to bed, and they want to start this deep theological discussion with you. If it's not that, maybe they're a little younger. They say, "Can I have a drink? I have to go to the bathroom first." Okay. 20 minutes later, they're still on the bathroom. "I'm not tired. I don't care." "I'm hungry. Too bad." "I'm scared of the dark." Too bad. "Did you hear that?" "Nope, didn't hear anything." "I need my blanket." "My pajamas are itchy." "I need a new Band-Aid." That was one of my daughter's favorite when she was little. My daughter was fascinated with Band-Aids. And she needed new Band-Aids to cover up the make-believe boo-boos that she had. Because those old Band-Aids, they were just no good anymore. "Can you read me another book? Will you sing me a song? How come you get to stay up and I don't? I'm hot, I'm cold, I can't sleep," and on and on and on. These are just a list for my kids. Okay? God says, go. Jesus, the end of Matthew, Jesus says, go. Go and make disciples. Now go, God says, and then I will help you. Not, you figure out everything you need for the trip. You gather together all the resources. You attain all the knowledge, and then you can go. No, go, and then I will give you what you need. God isn't looking for people who already know everything. God isn't looking for people who already have everything. God doesn't call the equipped. God equips the called. You just need to understand that. That's right where you are, every single one of you. You are in a place where God is calling. You don't got to worry about the stuff. You use what God's already given you. And you go, and you do. God will teach us along the way. It's okay to step out in faith. It's time to get started, to stop talking about being a follower of Jesus and then not do anything. It's time to go. Follow Jesus wherever he goes. Do whatever he says. If we knew everything, I got to tell you, we probably wouldn't go. If God told you what was going to happen next week, you would say, I'm done. If God told you the rest of your life, you would say, no way. Ain't no way. I'm out. If we waited until we were fully equipped to fight the battle or follow through on that resolution, well, it's over long ago. We already lost. We just haven't realized it yet. We do what we can. Can you heal your marriage today? No. But you can take a step and get started and apologize. Can you get out of financial crisis today? No. But you can start paying off debt. You can come up with a plan and make better financial decisions and begin the journey. Here's the best piece of advice I can give you for a happy and healthy new year, maybe the best resolution you could ever make. You're not God. How about you be you and you let God be God? See, when you stop trying to control everything, when you try and stop controlling one thing, and you just let God be God, and you just accept right where you're at, that he's already blessed you with all these tools and gifts, material things, nature, personality. He's already gifted you with so many things. If you just realize right where you're at, he's God, you're not. He's blessed you with all these things. And you say, I'm going to start doing something with the stuff that he's given me. And I'm going to let him be God, and I'm just going to be the follower. Now we got something. Now we have a year that we can launch off into. I guarantee if you finish 2019 and start off with 2020 with this simple resolution, that things are going a good way. You be you. No one else can be you because God did not make anyone for that purpose. He only made you to be you. And you let God be God. When we do this, things tend to fall in place. Then when you accept that, you have a good foundation to get started on, the plan that God has laid out in front of you. You start where you are because God is with you. It doesn't really matter where you're at if you know who you're with. And you use what you have because God gave it to you. He blessed you with it. And you do what you can for His glory. God does unbelievable things through people who do these three things. Just look at Moses. This guy who was slow, he made into one of the most amazing leaders the world has ever seen. I want to reread this passage we started off with. It says this: by faith, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. He regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as of greater value than the treasures of Egypt because he was looking ahead to his reward. From Hebrews chapter 11, we call it the faith chapter. You will never finish anything that you don't start. So let's get started. When we can do these things, when we start where we are, we use what we have, what God has blessed us with, and we do what we can. We can't do everything. But we better do something. We're going to have an amazing year. And an incredible